Retargeting campaigns after cold call rejections, turning no into not right now. Why a cold call no is usually the start of the deal. If you run any real outbound motion, you hear not interested constantly, and that's normal. The expensive mistake is treating every rejection like a dead end and letting it rot in a closed, lost graveyard. In B2B, most no responses are timing, prioritization, or internal politics, not a permanent disqualifier. This matters because cold calling success is inherently low on the first touch, with many teams seeing only 2 to 5% of dials convert directly into meetings. When you accept that reality, you stop judging your cold calling services by what happens on the call and start judging them by what happens after the call. The pipeline you lose on day 1 is often the pipeline you win in weeks 8 through 12. In this article, we'll walk through how to turn rejections into a repeatable retargeting system using phone, email nurture, and light advertising. We'll focus on practical steps your SDR agency or outsourced sales team can run without creating process chaos. The goal is simple: convert no into not right now and not right now into meetings. The data behind not right now and why reps misread it. Sales feels binary in the moment, but outcomes rarely are. Multiple follow-up studies show roughly 80% of sales require 5 to 12 follow-ups, yet about 44% of salespeople stop after a single follow-up attempt. That gap is where most outbound programs leak revenue, especially in sales outsourcing models, where volume is high but follow-through is inconsistent. Prospects also know their way to yes more often than teams admit. One widely cited pattern is that around 60% of buyers say no multiple times, often 4 before agreeing. And cold calling research shows the meeting often comes after a series of attempts, rather than a first conversation. If you only optimize scripts for the first call, you're optimizing the least likely moment to win. When we evaluate outbound for clients as a B2B sales agency, we look for 2 things: whether the team is capturing the reason behind the no, and whether there's a specific next step tied to that reason. Without those 2 pieces, your outbound sales agency is effectively paying for data you never use. With them, even a rejection becomes a scheduled future opportunity. Treat every rejection like a data point, not a mood. Retargeting starts in the CRM, not in ad platforms. The fastest improvement you can make is standardizing call outcomes so your cold callers don't free type "not interested" for everything. Use a required pick list for rejection reasons: timing, budget, competitor, wrong contact, hard no, and make it impossible to close out an activity without choosing one. Then, layer in lightweight context that makes your next touch feel human. We coach teams to capture 3 to 4 short facts immediately after the call, including the exact objection language, the tool or vendor in place if mentioned, and any timing clue like a renewal month or planning cycle. This is what lets a sales development agency re-enter a conversation months later without sounding like a stranger. Finally, get explicit permission whenever you can. A simple close like, "If I send a quick case study and circle back in January, is that okay?" changes the tone of future outreach and improves reply rates in email nurture. This one habit also reduces spam complaints and strengthens deliverability for any cold email agency effort that follows the call. Build reason-based retargeting journeys across phone, email, and LinkedIn. Once you have clean rejection reasons, you can build campaigns that match the story the prospect told you. Timing-based rejections should receive low-pressure touches that keep you useful. Then, a callback aligned to the date they implied. Budget-based rejections should receive ROI proof, credible benchmarks, and a clear path to justify spend when the next planning cycle hits. Competitor or we're under contract rejections should be treated as renewal math, not a loss. Your job is to become the obvious plan B by sharing evaluation checklists, neutral how to maximize your current approach content, and a respectful benchmark offer near the renewal window. In practice, this is where LinkedIn outreach services and account-based retargeting can keep your name present without pestering the buyer. Wrong person rejections are a routing problem, not a nurture problem. You should keep the original contact warm with occasional value, but your main motion is list-building services, stakeholder mapping, and a fresh sequence to the right titles. This is also where strong B2B list-building services pay off, because you're expanding within the same account rather than starting over elsewhere. A rejection isn't a verdict, it's a timestamp and a reason. Capture both, and you can engineer the re-engagement. Cadences that respect the no without disappearing. A common failure mode is swinging between two extremes, vanishing after the first rejection or dropping the prospect into the same aggressive cadence used for net new outreach. The better approach is structured persistence that's lighter on calls, heavier on relevance, and tied to the rejection reason. It aligns with what the data already suggests. Many deals require 5 to 12 touches, and multi-channel outreach can outperform single-channel by large margins, sometimes reported near 287%. Use a baseline of 6 to 10 touches over 60 to 120 days for not right now prospects, with escalation only when you have a trigger: renewal window, funding event, leadership change, job post, new initiative. Your messaging should shift from book a meeting to share proof, reduce risk, and offer a small next step. When you do call, reference the prior conversation and the timing cue so the outreach feels earned. If you support retargeting with ads, keep it light and credibility-driven. Retargeting programs are often cited as improving conversion outcomes, with some reporting lifts like 30% plus increases in form submissions when executed well. The key is not to chase the prospect everywhere, but to make your proof easy to bump into when they're back in market. Common mistakes that kill re-engagement and how to fix them. The most common mistake is collapsing all rejection outcomes into one generic bucket. When everything becomes not interested, your follow-up becomes just checking in, which trains prospects to ignore you. Fix this by enforcing standardized outcomes and requiring a next step date when the reason is timing or contract related. Another mistake is failing to respect the objection while still being persistent. Buyers are more likely to accept a meeting after multiple attempts. Some research puts it as high as 82% saying they've agreed after a series of cold calls. Yet most teams don't change the message between attempts. The fix is simple. Each touch should add a new asset, a new proof point, or a new angle tied to the original objection, not a repeated ask. Finally, teams often forget that retargeting is operational, not just creative. If your SDRs don't log renewal dates, if your CRM fields aren't reportable, or if your suppression rules are unclear, you'll either over-contact or under-contact. Build guardrails early, including do not contact handling, persona routing rules, and channel preferences, especially if you outsource sales or run an outsourced SDR model across time zones. Optimization. Turn retargeting into a measurable revenue system. Once your basics are running, optimize for signal and timing. Add simple lead scoring for rejected prospects based on engagement, opens, replies, site visits, account fit, and buying triggers. Then prioritize callbacks accordingly. This prevents your cold calling team from dialing on hope and shifts effort to prospects showing movement. Make testing a weekly habit instead of a quarterly project. A/B test one variable at a time, like subject lines for budget objections, the type of proof you send for competitor rejections, or whether a LinkedIn touch before the call increases connects. Even small improvements matter when your top-of-funnel conversion is only 2 to 5% and you're trying to systematically lift the back end of the funnel. Also, broaden your audience inside the account. Many no responses are just one person's perspective, so build sequences that introduce adjacent stakeholders with tailored positioning while keeping the original contact warm. This is where a strong cold calling agency paired with enrichment and stakeholder mapping can create compounding returns, because one rejection can still lead to 3 new conversations. Putting it into practice, a simple next step plan and where SalesHive fits. Start with a 2-week implementation sprint. Lock your rejection reason pick list, train reps to log short context, and define one retargeting cadence per top rejection type. Then set reporting that shows re-engagement rate, meetings from rejected status, and time to meeting by rejection reason so you can see what's working. If you're evaluating a sales agency or SDR agencies to operationalize this, look for process discipline more than promises. At SalesHive, we've built our outbound playbooks around structured outcomes and follow-through, because volume without systemized retargeting just creates a bigger CRM graveyard. Since 2016, we've booked 100,000 plus meetings for 1,500 plus B2B clients by combining high-volume calling, smart nurture, and consistent re-engagement. The future of B2B cold calling services will lean even more on first-party data, permission-based nurture, and careful multi-channel sequencing as buyers filter noise. Teams that treat rejections as structured signals will build pipeline with less brute force, while teams that treat no as a dead end will keep paying acquisition costs over and over. Whether you hire SDRs internally or use sales outsourcing, the play is the same. Capture the reason, schedule the next step, and retarget with intent.